Hey, welcome to the Empowered and Free podcast. My name is Erin Kimbrell, and I'm a counselor, certified life coach, breathwork coach, and small town mom of two. I know firsthand what it feels like to live with high functioning anxiety. For most of my life, I had so much mental mess, anxiety, people pleasing, perfectionism, overthinking, constant worrying, and never feeling good enough. On my decade-long journey to feeling better, I've learned how to take back my life from high-functioning anxiety and helped others to do the same through my coaching and breathwork programs. Now I want to share everything I know with you. This podcast will help you feel empowered over your high-functioning anxiety and free to finally live the life of your dreams. Now, grab a cup of coffee, get comfy, and dive into the episode. I'm Erin Kimbrell, and this is the Empowered and Free podcast. Hey, friends, welcome back to the Empowered and Free podcast. Today, we are talking about an important topic, okay? We are talking about the worst anxiety advice and the best anxiety advice that you should follow in 2025. If you go right now to Google and you type in what to do if you have anxiety, or what to do if you have high functioning anxiety, you're going to have a ton of advice pop up because believe me, I tried it for this episode just to prove my point. So we want to talk about what really is the best advice. What should you actually be listening to and putting your very limited time into? What should you actually do? As somebody who's had a lifetime of anxiety, I feel like I have tried every single thing on the list out there. So I'm going to break down what is the best advice and the worst advice. I also want to say, to those of you who might hear something that you've done on the worst advice, I can guarantee I've tried it too. So this is not like a shaming, like I don't want you to feel bad about what you've tried, or I don't want this to come off as like offensive because I've been in your shoes. Like it actually was really eye-opening when I still, today in 2025, went to Google and typed this in and I'm like, seriously? Like we're really still telling people this? Because I know how bad the struggle is. And I really hate to see like this kind of commonplace advice out there that isn't accurate. Okay. So I just want to start with that little preface. I love you. I hope that you take this from kind of that loving perspective. Let's start with the worst advice. We are going to bust some anxiety myths for you today. And the first one is definitely going to step on some toes because I see this everywhere. The worst anxiety advice in 2025 is that you have to manage your anxiety for the rest of your life. Okay. This is controversial because you hear a lot of mental health professionals talking about this. As a mental health professional myself, when people come to me, they're like, I just want to learn how to manage my anxiety. And I just have to like, boop, boop, keep it in my mouth. Like, because I know that I'm going to teach them over time that it's not necessarily about managing your anxiety. In my opinion, managing your anxiety is a waste of time, literal time in your life. And time is the one thing that we cannot get back in this precious life. Okay. And a lot of medical and mental health professionals don't really understand how to heal your anxiety, how to maybe lessen or relieve some of that anxiety so that it's not your daily experience every single day. And it's not really their fault. This is what we're taught. As somebody who went through school to become a counselor, I understand that this is kind of the messaging that's out there is that we have to manage our anxiety. But here's the truth about that. You already manage so many things. As someone with high functioning anxiety, we are doing top tier more than anybody else, probably in this entire world, because we are high achievers and we want to do everything and we want to be superwoman, and we can't do that. Okay. You're already busy working. You're making sure you make dinner. You're taking care of yourself. You're running kids to practice. Your to-do list is a mile long because mine is too. I understand. I don't need one more thing to manage and you don't either. And managing, in quotes, your anxiety does take a lot of work. Managing anxiety to me looks like trying to keep it below the surface, like just keeping it at a level where you can function, you can kind of do your daily thing, and it's not like this major thing that's disrupting your life. We talked about the difference between anxiety and high functioning anxiety in other episodes on the podcast, but at some level, all of us are trying to just kind of keep it below the surface. Instead, what we want to do is look at the root cause of anxiety so that it doesn't show up for you as often anymore. And we'll talk about that in a minute. I want to give a quick story time. You may have heard me tell this story before on the podcast, but when I was really struggling with my anxiety the most, I was going to a therapist. She was giving me some tools where we were like journaling about anxiety and reframing my thoughts and doing these things on a daily basis to hopefully manage, in quotes, my anxiety. And so I woke up on this day that we were going to take a tubing trip down the New River with the kids. The kids were a lot younger at this point. And I remember just, of course, waking up with that intense anxiety because my kids around water are some things that like really that hides my anxiety a lot. And so I got my journal out. Like I remember waking up early, which is like, prime time if you have kids and you just need to do something for yourself. And I had my journal and I was journaling and like reframing my thoughts. And it took me probably close to an hour. I'm just like guessing and trying to remember back. It took me that long to take the anxiety I was feeling and feel less anxious to a point that it felt manageable, right? So, what is better, in my opinion, is not taking all this time to manage your anxiety, but instead to live in this calm, peaceful state most of the time, which is life-giving. And also, when you have an anxious moment come up, know how to move through that quickly, not in an hour, not in a day, not in a month, but quickly. Okay, so that is number one on my worst anxiety advice in 2025. Okay. Number two, again, I feel like I am just like, I am not normally a controversial person, but I got to spread the truth, guys. Okay. Here's another, in my opinion, worst piece of advice for anxiety. We have what are commonly known solutions. Again, I'm using air quotes that you can't see for anxiety disorders like medication and CBT or psychotherapy. In fact, if you go right now to WebMD or Mayo Clinic or any of these big hitters and you type in like treatments for anxiety, those are what are going to pop up. Psychotherapy, CBT, therapy, and meds, medication. Okay. So let me just listen. Okay. I encourage you to just hear me out for a second. Let's start with therapy or psychotherapy. Therapy is an awesome tool. Therapy is an awesome tool, especially when you pair it with a great therapist. And this is somebody who really helps you make progress in your life. Amazing. I know awesome therapists too. But the unfortunate reality is that not all therapists and even counselors are top tier. Okay. If you've worked with one and it didn't feel like the right fit, or you felt like you didn't make a lot of progress, I don't want you to feel discouraged and be like, oh, it didn't work for me. What's wrong with me? Therapy is supposed to be the thing that helps. Why didn't it help me? I have worked with a lot of people over a lot of years, and I do hear this. This also, in a small way, was part of my story. I mentioned that I was working with a therapist before. She was teaching me these tools, which were helpful, but also at the same time, it was something that took a lot of time out of my life. And I didn't feel like I was really making a lot of progress. So I felt like I was spending a lot of time giving a lot of effort, but not making a lot of progress. Again, do not feel discouraged. There are so many other options. There are better therapists and counselors out there. There are psychiatrists. And yes, there are even coaches like myself who not only have a mental health background and training, but also have a lifetime of lived experience with anxiety and high functioning anxiety. And we know what you're going through. Therefore, we can help you better. I am not saying I'm the end all be all. I cannot possibly be that for every single person that experiences anxiety. But my whole point is if you've tried this and felt discouraged, it is okay. There are some other options. Okay. So that was the first piece of these solutions, these commonly known solutions for anxiety. The second piece here is medication. Now, meds can also be helpful, but what I want you to hear is that meds are not required. Okay. And at the same time, hear me out again with love. Nothing is wrong with you for taking medicine. I have been there. If you've heard my story here, I go into the doctor's office because my anxiety was just this weight that I carried with me every single day. I felt like I kind of couldn't catch a deep breath. My thoughts were always running all over the place. I was overthinking. I wasn't sleeping. I felt like crap. And what did the doctor do? But wrote me a prescription for medicine. Not like, hey, can we talk about what's really going on here? Like, no, it was simply the prescription. And I tried it. And so, if that is where you're at, if that is the capacity you have, that is okay. I take medicine for other conditions that I need support with. And I also think that mental health should be no different. So, if medicine helps you, please understand that I'm not saying to come off of your meds. In the same way I'm not saying ditch your therapist, right? I'm not a doctor, and you need to speak to yours before you make this deeply personal decision for yourself. If you're happy on your meds and they're helping you, then by all means stay on them. Like, I'm so proud of you for taking steps to help your mental health. But here's what I want those of you to hear if you fall in this second group, right? I'm speaking to people here when I share this advice. Those of you who have gone on a medication and felt like, okay, I don't want to be on this the rest of my life, but I'm scared that if I go off of it, I don't think I can do it anymore. Okay. So I'm speaking to those of you in that boat. And I'm also speaking to those of you who haven't gone on medicine yet because it doesn't feel like the right decision for you for whatever reason. I speak to people who are anxious about getting on anxiety medication. And that is me as somebody who has struggled with health anxiety. I really get that. Okay. So if you are in one of those two camps, I just want to encourage you here that therapy and meds are not the only underline here, two options for anxiety. Please do not feel stuck by that advice. If you've tried therapy and it didn't help enough, or you tried meds and you didn't like the side effects, or you're too scared to try meds and you haven't tried meds because you felt like those weren't right for you, there are other options. And we'll talk about that when we get to the best advice here. Okay. So that was number 2 in the worst advice. We got one more worst advice. If you go to Google today and type in, how do I get help for my anxiety? You are going to find 1,000,001. I counted. No, just kidding. I didn't count. You're going to find 1,000,001 different ideas out there. And so the worst advice you could listen to is trying random strategies that you find on the internet, expecting them to fix your anxiety. Who's been there? Me. My hand is like so high in the air. If you have been somebody who's done that Google search and it said, oh, try mindfulness for anxiety. So you clicked on that meditation video and you tried it and you didn't understand why your brain could not just slow down for a minute. So then you feel like something's wrong with you. Like, why did that not work for me? What's wrong with me? This is what Google and everyone and their mother says helps anxiety. Why did that not help me? Okay. So then what do? You go back to the internet. You find a TikTok video or an Instagram reel, and you go through the same cycle over and over again. This is just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping it sticks. You're just trying random things, hopeful that you'll find the one magic trick, the one perfect solution that is going to fix your anxiety. I will also say, these tips and tricks can be helpful, like meditation, mindfulness. Of course, I love those things, right? In fact, this is actually how I found breath work. And breath work helps me calm down in an anxious moment. I was scrolling, found a video. I was like, let me give this a try. And it did help me in that anxious moment. Breath work was a tool I relied on for so long when my anxiety was high. And then I realized that breath work or that magic fix, that one specific tool, those things will not fix my anxiety at the root cause. Okay. Random strategies are not the way to truly heal your anxiety at the root and help you overcome it for good. All right. So we've covered the worst advice there. Okay. Now let's get into what do you actually do? Like, okay, Erin, cool. You told me what not to do. What do I do now? We're going to talk about the best advice for anxiety in 2025. And here we go. Number 1, you can overcome your anxiety for good. Done are the days, in my opinion, of managing anxiety and just kind of keeping it right below the surface at a place where you can still like do your daily life. But yes, you feel the anxiety. It's kind of always there. It's not to a point where it's totally like crippling you and debilitating, but you're just kind of keeping it below the surface. Done are the days of that. Instead, yes, you can overcome your anxiety for good. You can be in anxiety recovery, right? And so this could be a life where you're free from the grips of anxiety, that death grip I'm talking about. But that doesn't necessarily mean an anxiety-free life. It doesn't mean that you're never going to have anxiety ever again. Okay. Especially if you're somebody who kind of goes this more holistic, natural route. Your anxiety doesn't poof, just disappear. It absolutely will lessen and reduce. But anxiety is actually normal. It can be a helpful thing. I know you're like, what are you talking about? But I'm telling you, it can be a helpful thing. I use my anxiety now to help myself figure out where I'm going in life, where I'm maybe going astray because my body tells me. Okay. What I mean by this, all of this, is that you don't feel like anxiety controls your life anymore. You're free from that control, like I said, that death grip that it had over you. So anxiety doesn't have the power. You have the power, not anxiety, but you have the power. You get to choose your thoughts in the same way that you choose your clothes. Okay, I talk about this inside of the Haven. Such a powerful mindset shift here. If I have an anxious thought pop in my head, I go, yeah, no thanks. I don't like that one. I don't want that one. And I choose again. I choose something different in the same way that if I put on a top, a shirt, and I'm like, ugh, not the fit today, not loving it. I take it off and I choose again. You can get to that place where you are with your anxiety. The control and that power that anxiety had over you is gone, gone when you learn how to do this. And this is everything I teach inside of the Haven. It is so freaking good, you guys. Oh, okay. That was number one. We're not managing anxiety. We are overcoming anxiety for good. Okay. Number two on the best tips for anxiety. You don't have to think that the only options are therapy and meds. Okay. I don't want you to feel pigeonholed by that advice. And when they don't work for you or that's not the route you want to take, you go, oh, well, something's wrong with me. Right. Instead, you can take a holistic approach to anxiety. This means that we look at the whole person. We look at your whole life. We are not just slapping a band-aid over a bullet wound, right? We are looking at you as a person and we're implementing lifestyle changes that can actually get to the root cause of the anxiety that you feel. Ah, like cue the music, man. You can take what I call like this multifaceted approach. And I'm going to talk about this approach in more episodes too, so you can know exactly what I mean by that. Here's the other truth. We're all different, right? So how can we think that only two options are the best for all of us? Different people respond well to different modalities. Like I said, if the meds are working for you, if the therapy is a great fit, please, by all means, try it. And if you want to try something different, there are absolutely other choices. For long lasting anxiety relief, we have to try this multifaceted, holistic approach. And again, that is exactly what you get inside of the Haven. Oh, I'm going to talk about the Haven in just a minute, but I want to get through. That was tip number two of the best anxiety advice to follow, using that holistic approach to get to the root cause of anxiety so that you live a life where you feel free from anxiety. So awesome. Okay, number three, rounding out the last tip here for the best anxiety advice. Remember that number three on the worst list was trying random strategies you found on the internet, expecting them to fix your anxiety. Okay. Instead, here, the best advice to follow is a proven strategic triple whammy approach. That is so fancy. I know, I made it up. A triple whammy approach. You guys know I'm not this like super fancy person. I'm very casual. I want to speak to you just like your best friend speaks to you because I feel like we are internet besties. So many of you reach out and you're like, oh my gosh, we could be best friends. Please. I love friends. Okay. We are going to do this proven strategic triple whammy approach. And let me kind of give you an example here. If you were going to go build a house, okay, I'm not doing this, but if you were going to go build a house, would you pull up random YouTube videos and would you learn how to install a toilet? Then you go to a next video and you learn how to set up the footers of a house. And then the next video, you learn how to put up drywall. Like, would you do that? Okay. If so, you're a DIY girly. And I tried this approach when I was trying to heal my anxiety, right? Instead, what we want to do is follow a step-by-step plan. So if I'm building a house, I'm going to lay the foundation first. Then maybe you're going to frame the house out. Then you're going to install the HVAC, the plumbing, the electrical. Then you're going to add the insulation and the drywall, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I do not know how to build a house. First of all, I did have to Google that. Or what you would do is you would hire somebody who knew how to do this, like a construction project manager or superintendent, right? You would hire somebody who knew the step-by-step plan and who knew how to do it all so that they could walk you through it, right? You would avoid all of these mistakes, essentially getting like a fast pass to getting it all done. And you're not wasting your time trying to figure it out yourself. You guys, you don't have the time to waste. I know. Like I said, I live a very full, incredible, busy life. 2, I don't have the time to waste trying this and that and that. Instead, you would find someone who knew step by step exactly what to do, and you would take that fast pass to get it all done. And that's exactly what you get inside of the Haven for high functioning anxiety. You guys, the Haven is everything that I needed and wanted and is not out there. So I created it. The Haven is a learning community specifically designed for you, an ambitious, anxious achiever who wants to stop letting anxiety control your life. Okay. Inside of the Haven, you're going to find a proven step-by-step roadmap, step by step. It is simple. You just follow the steps and it teaches you how to overcome your anxiety for good. So inside of the Haven, you'll learn how to feel less anxious long term because you've healed your anxiety at the root. Like I said, no more managing. Managing is out. You'll know the simple, proven PNR process to help you if you have an anxious moment. So you guys, this is like worth the weight of gold. I still use the PNR process every single day. Maybe not every single day. Every single time that I have an anxious thought, I go through the same process. And that is what I'm giving you, that fast pass, okay? You will learn how to feel lighter and more peaceful because you're living your life as that carefree version of yourself that you want to be, right? You release the control and feel free of the death grip that you've had on life. I know that part of you that wants to plan it all out, to predict what's going to happen and to feel in control. I get that. And we're going to learn how to release that, to actually like feel lighter and more joyful, feel that energy and excitement back for life. Okay. And this is important, to have confidence to go for those secret dreams and goals that you've been wanting to do, but you've been too scared to try. I'm going to teach you how to do that. And then lastly, inside of the Haven, you're going to feel proud of yourself. You're going to know you're good enough exactly as you are. Oh, it is so good. Okay, guys, make sure you hop on the wait list for the Haven. It is open right now. And when you're on the wait list, you get early access to the program. You could start like literally next week. Okay. And you get first dibs on the first 25 spots for half price. Who doesn't want half price for life? Okay. When you jump in on the wait list, you will be grandfathered in as one of these founding members. So your price will never go up because you're going to be locked in at that half off for as long as you are a member. This is a crazy, amazing deal. This is what I have offered for thousands for a small fraction of the price. And honestly, once those first 25 spots are gone, they're gone. Okay. Then you'll be at the regular price, which is double what it will be. So make sure you click on the wait list, friends, and hop in. You can head to erinkimbrell.com/links and find everything you need. Let's do a quick recap. Okay. What is out? What is in? We're going to start with tip number 1. The worst advice is managing anxiety for the rest of your life. The best advice is anxiety healing and recovery is absolutely possible for you. Okay. Worst advice number 2 is that therapy and meds are the only treatment. And the best advice on the flip side of that is a holistic approach where we look at you as a whole person and implement lifestyle changes to actually get to the root cause of the anxiety you feel. That's the gold, friends. Okay. And number 3, the worst advice is trying random strategies on the internet, expecting them to fix your anxiety. Quit throwing that spaghetti at the wall. And the best advice is to follow that proven strategic triple whammy approach. I know you guys love that as much as I do. All right. I hope that today's episode busted a few anxiety myths that you had and gave you the right anxiety advice to follow in 2025. Remember, I say this every episode this year, 2025 will be the year that you overcome anxiety once and for all. You are smart, my friend. I know that you've tried to figure this out on your own for far too long because I was the same way. You just need somebody to show you the way. And I'm here to help you do that. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this episode, guys. Have an amazing day, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye. Hey, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. You don't know how much it means to me. If you'd like more behind the scenes content, inspiration, and daily reminders that encourage and uplift you, follow me on Instagram at @HeyErinKimbrell and send me a DM to say hey. If any of the episodes have been super helpful for you, please consider leaving me a review on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you like to listen. It helps me so incredibly much, and it allows the podcast to be seen by other people who need it. If you want to learn more from me, head to erinkimbrell.com. That's where you'll find all my free resources, read the podcast show notes, and learn more information about my online coaching and breathwork programs that help you create the life you want. I'm here for you, and I'm always cheering you on. I'll see you next time. I'm Erin Kimbrell, and this is the Empowered and Free podcast.